See, a lot of people would have Patrick Ewing a lot higher on this list. If you go to other people's lists, they're going to put players who are retired very high on the list. I don't know why they do that. I'm not sure. Because here's the thing. Patrick Ewing, great player. Made the finals once. He was never an MVP. Not that it matters. Some people don't care about MVP. But I think a lot of the reasons he's so high on this ringless NBA stars list is because Knicks fans. He's a New York Knick. Again, didn't play as a New York Knick his entire career. He had 1 year as a Sonic and 1 year as a member of the Magic, which is pretty crazy. It's weird to see a Patrick Ewing photo of him with a Magic jersey on. It's very strange. So he obviously had a really great playoff career. He actually came out on top. In the playoffs, 72 and 67. That's a lot of playoff games. So I'm not disrespecting Patrick Ewing. He's on my list. He's number 10. He only made the finals once, though. He made the finals against the Rockets in 94. Back when the Rockets, when Hakeem Olajuwon kind of got a little bit greedy. You know? Jordan was out for those 2 seasons. Actually, one thing people don't... They brought it up in The Last Dance, but Jordan was actually in the playoffs in 95. Remember? He did come back at the end of the season. I believe that was the season he wore 45. Was it 55 or 45 that he wore? But he did have a playoff failure in 95. But Hakeem came and he swiped up those 2 championships. Took it away from Patrick Ewing, even though they went 7 games. They went 7 games in 1994. But you'd think, biggest obstacle for Patrick Ewing was Michael Jordan. He met Michael Jordan in the playoffs 5 times. And I believe he lost all 5 times to Michael Jordan. So I think the biggest nemesis of Patrick Ewing is absolutely Michael Jordan, without question. He probably lays awake at night thinking about Michael Jordan. Probably. That's, these NBA stars that never won a ring, they probably can't think about anything else. Steve Nash. Okay, so Steve Nash, really why... Steve Nash never made the finals. Chris Paul made the finals. I was glad he made the finals. I was glad he had that opportunity. But the closest Steve Nash ever came was he made the Western Conference Finals 4 times. And his biggest nemesis, obviously, he came up against the Lakers. He came up against a lot of teams. But it was really Pop and Tim Duncan with the Spurs. I believe they played them. Yeah, they played them in the Western Conference Finals twice and lost. They might have been the 2 years that the Spurs won. I don't think so, actually. But that was his main nemesis. That's who he kept running into. That was the bane of Steve Nash's NBA career. Absolutely. So I think he's high up on this list because of his 2 NBA MVPs, which he deserved. I love that video of Shaq calling him out, saying he should have got the MVP. And then Steve Nash is like, you got to hit your free throws down the stretch, buddy. And Shaq had a good laugh, a very accepting laugh of like, yeah, that was my problem. That's why I didn't win more than 1 MVP. So, but Steve Nash, number 9 on the list, mainly just from, 50, 40, 90 club. I put that in green. He made it 4 times. He's made it the most amount of times. I think maybe Bird got it 3 times. He got it 2 or 3 times, but 50, 40, 90, if you haven't heard me talk about it 100 times before, 50% field goal percentage, 40% three-point percentage, and 90% free throw percentage. He did it 4 times. Very efficient player. One of the best passers of all time. But again, he gets docked on this list just because never made the finals. AI made the finals once, so I put him above Steve Nash. He does have an MVP, 4-time scoring champion, excellent player. One of maybe top 20? What do you think? Top 20, Allen Iverson? It depends how much you respect the old guys. Is Bill Russell or Oscar Robertson on your top 10s? Are they on your top 20s? They're not on mine. Is Jerry West on yours? I don't know. I never watched him play. that's the thing. I'm like, can I make a top 10 list of greatest NBA players of all time? I'm 35. Yeah, I watched basketball when I was a kid, but I wasn't like studying basketball. But I put Allen Iverson in the top 20. But he never, he actually had really what brings him down is his playoff record. He actually didn't play in that many playoff games. So 30-41. So he's a losing record in the playoffs. I'm not going to punish some guy for making the playoffs a bunch. But the thing is, if you look at Steve Nash, 57-63, Allen Iverson. So 71 playoff games for Allen Iverson. And then over, I'm not going to do the math on this. What is it, 120? 110? 110. 110 playoff games for Steve Nash, and then 71 playoff games for Allen Iverson. So Allen Iverson had a very high peak. I believe he won the MVP the same year he did make it to the finals, and he lost in 5 games to the Lakers. I remember I was at basketball camp when those finals were going on, and they didn't let us watch it. They were like, we had a meeting or something. We just sort of found out who won from the counselors who came in. I don't know why they didn't let us watch the game. Great career for Allen Iverson. Never got a ring. Charles Barkley is 7. I'm trying to think why I put him on this list so high. 1 MVP. Again, might have been one of those years that people thought it should have gone to Jordan. There's another player coming up where it's a should have gone to Jordan MVP winner that people do say. Lost to the Bulls. So he only made the finals once. He lost to the Bulls in 1993. But the main obstacle for him was Karl Malone. They sort of cannibalized each other throughout the entire 90s. When Chuck was in Phoenix, and then Karl was obviously in Utah for the most, all but 1 year of his career. So, and then Hakeem, he met Karl Malone and he met Hakeem. They met them both in the playoffs a lot. I think twice. I think he met them both in the Western Conference Finals twice, I believe. So, again, Hakeem, good for him. Good for him for winning. And I think that's sort of an interesting question. If Jordan if he plays through 94 and he plays through 95, do Hakeem and the Rockets, Clyde Drexler, Kenny Smith, do those guys have rings? If you sort of look at it, if you take someone that didn't watch basketball and you say, hey, this guy dominated for 6 years in the NBA. There were 2 years where he wasn't playing, and another team won those 2 years. But then he came back for 3 more years and he won all those years. Anyone that doesn't watch basketball, the logical assumption would be that whoever that guy was, he would have won those 2 years too. I don't know if it's true, but good for Hakeem for getting them and really sort of ruining Charles Barkley and Karl Malone's likelihood of ever winning an NBA title. So, again, I think after this, I'm just going to sort of say I respect every single player because, how often, I feel like this sort of becomes your identity, never winning a title for these guys, but I don't really think of them like that. I love Charles Barkley. I would rather have Charles Barkley's life than Michael Jordan. I've said that before. Charles Barkley seems a lot more happy, a lot more joy. I put Russ in here because Russ, I have to say, career stats are pretty unreal. 25,000 points, 9.7K assists, and 8.4 rebounds. That's just a lot of NBA statistics. That's just a lot of doing stuff in the NBA for a long time. And he has an MVP, 2-time scoring champion. He did make the finals. Remember, 2012 against the Miami Heat, lost in 5, but he did make the finals. So he's been there. He's seen what it's like. 3-time assist leader. He's been a part of the NBA for a really long time, and he's sort of unignorable. I think he's had a better career than Charles Barkley. I think he's had a better career than Patrick Ewing. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And he still could. He still could. I'm a Westbrook fan now. I'm on the Westbrook train. He's on my team. He's on my nugs. I love the guy. I'm here for it. I'm rooting for him. Get Russell Westbrook a ring. So the main obstacle he ran into Harden a lot and Curry a lot. Whether he was on the Thunder or when he was on the Rockets or now when he's on, while he's been on the Clippers, he got knocked out by the Suns I think that was the only time that he was in the playoffs as the Clippers. But he did run into Curry and the Warriors a lot, and also KD. So it's sort of funny. He ran into KD and Harden quite a bit. He ran into the Rockets with Harden, and he ran into the Thunder, or not the Thunder, excuse me, the Golden State Warriors when KD was there. So a lot of his old teammates are sort of his nemesis, which make his career pretty interesting. He's been on a lot of teams. He's been on the Thunder, Rockets, Wizards, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. Who else has been on a lot of teams? James Harden. I put Harden above him. I think Harden has had the better career. 6 times first team All-NBA versus Russ. He's been 9 times All-NBA, but I think I got to give it to Harden because of the 6-time first. He had a run there in Houston. 3-time scoring title. 2-time assists. Again, Russ, 2-time scoring title. But I remember that run and how impressive it was. And he should have won. He should have been better in the playoffs. During his prime and when he was seriously dominating, he failed. And he's also playoff series-wise, he's done more than Russ. That was one reason. He's played in a lot more playoffs than Russ. And I think he's still obviously a better player than Russ right now. So he's ahead of him. Also, I think he's 2nd time in all-time three-pointers. Could he do it? Is he more likely to get a ring than Russ? I think it's dead even. So the closest he ever got, I got to say, was that 2018 Western Conference Finals. Remember when they were up? I believe they were up 3-2, and then they lost the last 2 games. That Game 7 was when the Rockets bricked 27 consecutive three-pointers. Man, that was... I would encourage... I think after that game, I would have encouraged people, hey... Don't watch sports. It hurts too bad. It's not worth it. Chris Paul. And then you look at his stats. Okay, so really what it is, he's 3rd in all-time steals, 2nd in all-time assists. We've seen a lot of Chris Paul. He's played a lot of really good basketball. He's saved a lot of teams. I think about him in Oklahoma City. That team... They played a really great series against the Rockets. The Rockets ended up beating them, but that team was not good, and Chris Paul brought that team up. He's great. The closest he was in is 2021, the NBA Finals against the Bucks, where the Bucks won in 6. But that was close. That Suns team was good, and man, they just screwed that up. I think there is something about NBA owners where if they lose something, it is so hard to win. It is so hard to win a championship. And no NBA owner, even if you make the finals and you lose, you're still gonna say, our team wasn't good enough. Let's change it. There's no part of you that's like, let's stay the same. Maybe things just didn't go our way. We were incredibly close. We were almost as close as you possibly could ever come, right? Let's change. Let's do something different. I don't know. I think the Suns should have stayed put. Okay, now I had to put Elgin Baylor on here. Here's the thing. 7 finals appearances. 7. That's a lot. Making the finals 7 times. Again, this was during the era where there really weren't that many teams. There might have been like 8 teams total. But 7 times... And then in 1962 was as close as he ever came. They made it to a Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. He scored 61 points and they lost by 3. Devastating. So he never won. But imagine being in the finals 7 times. Boston Celtics, by far, bane of his existence. They played the Knicks. I shouldn't say bane. We need something different than bane of existence. I feel like that's a little bit tired. But the arch nemesis of his NBA career. Boston Celtics. He did play, so he was in it 7 times. The last time he played the Knicks also went to Game 7. So, RIP, Elgin Baylor. He has a statue. He does have a statue outside of the Crypto.com arena. So, he is respected. He is admired. I believe he died last year. So, RIP. Yeah, I couldn't even find his playoff record. But I found his finals record. Imagine playing in, man, this is a real math test, isn't it? 44. finals games. Again, weren't a lot of teams back then. Stockton. One of the greatest players of all time that you don't really... I think his association with Karl Malone makes him less respected. Because people really don't like Karl Malone, and they're friends, you know? I mean, they played most of their career together. All-time steals, all-time assists, and no one's really going to catch those. So, 2-time finals appearances in 1997 and then 1998 against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. There was just no beating that team. And the guy that's really known for choking during those series is not Stockton. It's Malone for losing the ball and then Jordan drilling a jumper over him and ending it. So Stockton played 89 and 93. I can't do that. I'm not doing all the math on here, but that's an insane amount of playoff games. He was basically, he might, look it up for me. Was he in the playoffs every single year of his career? I mean, doing the math, I have to assume yes. I assume he's also the playoff assist leader and playoff steals leader. That's another thing I should have looked up before the video. But it's a little homework assignment for anyone watching, if they'd like to. So Michael Jordan, definitely his biggest obstacle. Rockets, Sonics, Blazers too. Drexler and the Blazers, Kemp, Peyton, Hakeem. Yeah. Hakeem's a spoiler too. Jordan spoiled a lot of good times, but when the cat was asleep, the mice will play. And turned out there was another cat, Hakeem Olajuwon. Karl Malone, the forgotten NBA great because of statutory grape juice. That's why. Nobody talks about him. He also didn't have a lot of friends. He's also pretty unrepentant about the things that he's done. But second most or third most now. Whoa, I have him as I have him third in all-time scoring. No, I do. I have it right. Third in all-time scoring. LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone. Incredible career. Say what you will about him, but 2-time MVP. Again, a lot of people thought Michael Jordan should have had those 2 MVPs. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. I also didn't vote. Who cares? But 14-time All-NBA, 14-time All-Star. One of the greatest players of all time. 3 finals appearances, because remember, he had those 2 with Stockton against Michael Jordan. Also, 2004 against the Pistons, who beat the Lakers. Again, Malone was getting a lot of minutes, but he was only getting like 5 points a game. So, biggest obstacles for him were Michael Jordan, of course, those 2 times in the finals. But Kemp and Peyton beat him out a lot. Even more so than Hakeem Olajuwon. But I believe he got beat 3 times in the 90s in the playoffs by the Seattle Supersonics and Kemp and Peyton. Correct me if I'm wrong, but according to my research, that's it. Again, I'm kind of sorry I rushed this. My battery is dying again. I'm on vacation right now, so I've had to do a lot of backlogging of these videos. That's why I'm not doing current stuff for these. I'm doing sort of historical stuff. So thanks for hanging with me. I really enjoyed doing this one. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.